what's up everybody? Finally getting around to making this video. This one's going to be titled What to Expect on Your First Military Deployment. Just a little while ago, I got back from a deployment to East Africa. There's only one really major military installation that's in East Africa. I'm not going to say exactly where I was, but a little bit of research and you can figure that out pretty easily. But this video, I'm just going to talk to you about some of the things that I experienced over there, some things that I wish I had known before going, so you can know what to expect on your first deployment if you're going somewhere similar. But let's just hop right into it. Like I said, I made a list of just some things that I wanted to talk about, and it ended up being a pretty long list. So this is probably going to be a two-part video. But this is part one. Let's just hop right into it. Like I said, I was deployed to East Africa, spent about a year over there, and all in all, it wasn't an absolutely terrible time. I mean, it wasn't great, but it also wasn't terrible. I mean, it's East Africa, and there's a lot that comes with just being in East Africa. Before we even hop into it, probably most of the things the terrible things that you've heard about deployments are mostly going to be true. There's so much that goes on when you spend that amount of time with the same group of people just day in and day out and working. There's just so much that goes on with that. But for me, the deployment was something that came totally out of left field. It wasn't something that was on anybody's radar at all. They just brought our unit in one day, and I mean, there was no sugarcoating it at all. Our CO's basically like, "Hey, we're deploying. Start getting ready." And everybody's kind of like, "What?" It hit you like a ton of bricks at first, especially being your first deployment, because that's big news. You're just gonna pick up everything that you got going on, and you're gone for a year to some foreign country. So that's usually a heavy bit of information is when you find out that you're deploying. And I would say the first thing once you get that notification is to definitely start planning. Whether you're married, you have a girlfriend, you have kids, or whatever you have going on, just start planning, start making notifications. I was in the Florida Army National Guard, so as far as making notifications, I have a civilian job, so I had to notify them as soon as possible that I'd be leaving. Don't wait to do that if you're in the Guard, because there's lots of jobs that offer additional benefits when you get deployed overseas. Make copies of any documents that you get from the military so you can give that to your employer. In my position, it worked out pretty good for me because the job that I had, I was able to get dual pay. Basically, I got my military, my pay for being active duty, and then I also got paid from my regular civilian job. So things like that will be available to some of you guys too if you're in the Guard. So definitely speak with your employer and see what benefits are available for you. At the time, I was renting an apartment, and I got rid of that immediately. There was no reason for me to keep paying for somewhere that I wouldn't be. I basically took everything that I owned. I had some more motorcycles at the time. I had a car. I sold all that stuff because I didn't know. I didn't know exactly what my living situation would be when I get back. When I came back, I might want to move or live somewhere totally different. So I basically, and you don't have to do this, but this is what worked out for me. And I basically just, like I said, took my bikes, had several bikes, had a car. I sold everything, sold most of my electronics, and that way I only put just the bare essential things that I needed into a storage unit, which was like $40 a month. And that worked out for me. So definitely something for you to consider too if you're in a similar situation. But it was just easier for me to sell all those things and just have money. That way, when I come back, if I wanted to get back into motorcycles or get a new car or even buy a house or whatever, I just have that cash, and I can, wherever my interests go, I can use that money to kind of support it. And doing that helped me out a lot, because when you're overseas, depending on where you're going, you get additional benefits, obviously. Where I was in East Africa, we got all the benefits. I mean, we got everything. We got, the full BAH. We got the combat pay. We got the hazard pay. It was all tax free too, because it was considered a war zone. And all that money, I mean, when you minimize your bills back home, all that money that you're making overseas, I mean, you can literally just watch just zeros and zeros come into your bank account. So, I mean, I think it's really important, definitely, to try and try and just liquidate the things that you have to try and minimize all the payments that you're making back home. But that worked out really good for me. Definitely something to consider as well for you guys. Let's see. After I did that, I knew that where we were going, it's on the other side of the world, so they have hard times getting certain things that we needed. So I went ahead and stocked up on basically things that I knew would be hard to get over there. And that's things like, this is going to sound a little weird to you, but my favorite soap, for example. Stock up on your soap. If you like chapstick and things like that, stock up on the brand that you like. Just your comfort items like that. I know it sounds weird, but just trust me, having those things, I mean, it's just one less thing to worry about, because overseas there was shortages on all the essential things that you need. And you're going to have a really bad time if you run out of laundry detergent, for example, like we did. The base where we were, I mean, they would run out of laundry detergent and soap constantly. And living in Africa, I mean, you're talking about, 115 plus degree days every single day, and you're working in that. Hygiene is extremely important in that environment. But, if they run out of soap, you definitely want to have that stuff on you. But, soap, deodorant. I bought extra phone chargers for my phone because I knew those would be hard to come by over there too. Have some cash on you. And definitely, I bought a little bit of, and I didn't go crazy with this, but I got a little bit of, comfort food too. Or just, my favorite snacks and things that I like. Like I stocked up on sunflower seeds. I'm real big on sour candy, so I stocked up on things like that. Because, I mean, having those little bits of food and stuff like that you enjoy can also make your time a little bit better while you're over there, because once again, some of those things might not be easy to come by, and I mean, you're going to be gone for a year, so definitely something to consider. I also made a little Word document and put all of my passwords on it, just things that I knew I wouldn't be using for a whole year. I put all my logins on this password. When I deployed, I was actually married at the time, so I gave my wife a copy of that. If you're not married, I wouldn't recommend giving a copy of that to your girlfriend, because we can do a whole separate video on horror stories about guys that gave their girlfriends, their banking information, and it was spent on Jody, man. And like I said, terrible things you hear about deployments that are true. Jody, all that Jody stuff is so 100% true. So if you listen to anything in this video, be careful about giving out, your banking information and stuff to your girlfriends, because, you're gone for a year, man, and things change. And like I said, that is real stuff, man. I mean, people can do some grimy things to other people while, they're deployed to the other side of the world. So definitely something to consider. Let's see. I would also recommend to get something to pass the time. If your thing is, if you like reading books, and go ahead and bring an extra book or two. For me, I'm a big time gamer. So me and a couple of buddies of mine, we went and bought the Nintendo DS's, just went and splurged a little bit. Had the Nintendo DS's set up with Mario Kart. And man, those things definitely, I mean, just having this outlet, when you get a little bit of downtime, to just kind of unwind and play on and game, that was real big for me and the guys that did it too. We didn't have, a whole crazy amount of time to actually use them, but like I said, in those little moments, those little hurry up and wait moments, times where you're going to be sitting and going through some type of processing or whatever, getting ready, doing your pre-mob stuff for deployment, having a book or a little game system, I mean, just whatever it is that you use to, you blow off a little bit of steam and kind of unwind. Definitely consider getting something like that, because like I said, having that little Nintendo, as weird as it sounds, that definitely helped me out a lot on deployment. You got to consider, I mean, deployment's a very stressful thing. I know there's, these guys out here that have been on, 5, 6, 10 deployments or whatever. This isn't necessarily for those guys. Like I said, this is more for the person that this is their first deployment, and like I said, you're going to be dealing with a lot of stress. There's a lot of things that you're not going to know how to deal with, because it's your first time. So definitely having some type of outlet like that will definitely help you get through it. We did prior to deployment, I was in the Florida Guard, and our pre-mob training was it was several months of training that we did before we actually deployed to East Africa, where we have to go through the whole processing spiel. Basically, we go go get your medicals, go get all your medical stuff checked out, get all your gear issued, do all your paperwork. They open up bank accounts for people that don't have bank accounts, just a whole bunch of paperwork. And we did that at Fort Bliss, and I would say that was actually, that was probably maybe as bad as the deployment was, because I mean, that stuff is literally, if you're not in some type of pre-mob class, doing some type of IED training or some type of specialized training for the region that you're going to, I mean, you're waiting in line and you're doing paperwork and getting stuff issued. But yeah, the pre-mob stuff was horrible. Active duty is going to be a little bit different, but that's how it's going to go down in the Guard. And by the time we finished with all that pre-mob stuff, I mean, we just wanted to be on the deployment as opposed to just being in Texas and just going through that daily grind. But yeah, that was pretty hard for me for sure. After we finished that, though, it was pretty much a fast track to getting in country. You basically, the way they broke it up, they broke our unit into a couple different groups, and then you hop on a plane and you fly for, I think we were on the plane for 22 hours, 21 hours or something like that. But we flew commercial, which was nice, big 747 style plane. And I remember that the plane wasn't, it was maybe, half capacity. So there were several empty seats, and the flight over wasn't bad at all. But the biggest reality check for me came going on deployment was when we landed in East Africa. We got in there, I mean, we'd been on the plane, felt like an eternity. We landed in Africa. It was late at night. I think it was probably around midnight. Land on the base. They opened the doors to the plane. The plane was comfortable. The air was set to 65 degrees. I remember I literally had on a blanket inside the plane because I was that cold. I mean, they had it freezing in there because I guess they knew what was about to happen next. But it's freezing on the plane. They open the doors. We get all our gear. We step out. And I remember the second they opened the door, you can feel just this, like literally it felt like a blast, the hot air just come in and cover the plane. And we're like, all right, we're out on a hot tarmac, the engines are probably still running. I mean, there's military aircraft everywhere, it's probably the reason for that heat wave. I mean, a literal heat wave. Step off the plane, still hot. Go down the freaking ramp, get on the runway, start walking to the the nearest building where they welcome you in. It's still hot. We go and sit down on these bleachers. At this point, like I said, I mean, we're thinking, yeah, it's the turbines on the jets, it's the exhaust. We're getting hit by the aircraft exhaust, because I mean, it literally, if you turn on your oven to 350 degrees and open it, that blast of just radiant heat that hits your face, that's what it felt like. Now we're quarter mile away from the aircraft. We're sitting in these bleachers in this big, it's like a big welcome area where they bring you in and they brief you and they get you squared away. Everyone is literally everyone is drenched in sweat. We've only been here for a few minutes. The wind is blowing. I can't even accurately describe how hot East Africa is. And that was at nighttime, but that was probably the biggest reality check for me. and everyone else. Because I mean, it's literally like you're living in a sauna. Like you cannot imagine the climate in that area unless you go there. But I mean, it's just heat, 100% humidity, and I mean, it was terrible. Like the whole first month we were in country. I mean, all you can do is just drink water all day, every day, while your body acclimates to that environment. I mean, because I mean, it's ridiculously extreme. But they, once we got in, you go through the brief, they set you up. We stayed in tents for like the first several weeks that we were there too. Yeah, we were living in tents. Our housing situation did get a little bit better, but it mostly remained tents for us. The weather didn't change either, because like I said, the next day it felt like it was twice as hot as it was at night. I mean, I remember walking out of the tent in the morning. I mean, you're still sweating, sleeping in sweat. And I remember looking up, and where we were in East Africa, I mean, it's right on the equator. And I remember looking up, and it felt like the sun was literally like right above my forehead, just beating down. And I could literally feel just my skin burning. Anything metal that I was holding, I mean, it was on fire. I mean, it's really that bad in there. Until you get acclimated. But I mean, that takes a couple months at least before you get acclimated. And then you still really don't even get used to that heat. I mean, it's that insane. But where we were at that point, we were on a Navy base. The food was the food was actually pretty good. I won't get into that too much, but the food was actually pretty good, especially on holidays. If you're deployed on holidays, the food's going to be out of this world amazing. I mean, they like to take care of their soldiers overseas. I mean, holidays are really hard for everybody, but that's a whole nother topic that I won't get too far into. While you're overseas, there's going to be a store where you can, if you're on a larger base, like we were at that time, there's going to be a larger store where you can buy a lot of the things that you need. Some of these stores can be fully kitted out. I mean, it'd be like a small Walmart, if they're not sold out of stuff. I mean, you can get electronics, you can get all your tobacco stuff, movies, you can get games, a lot of hygiene items, and a lot of other random stuff too. And a really big bit of advice that I have for y'all is don't spend all your money, because like I said, I mean, depending on where you get deployed, man, you can make some serious dough. And it's going to be real hard not to start spending all that money. But listen to me now, don't go crazy with that spending, because once you start buying all this stuff because you have all this money, I mean, you're going to be that guy that comes back with no money in the bank because you spent it all getting stuff freaking shipped to wherever you're at, or you went crazy and you bought a laptop at the freaking PX store, because you could. Don't be that guy. Listen to me. Don't be that guy. Like you said, you want to minimize your spending. I mean, go, get the things you need. And I mean, don't be afraid, treat yourself a little bit, but just do it in moderation, because you don't want to be that guy that comes back from a year-long deployment and, you can't buy that Camaro, man. Don't be that guy. Before you go, or, as soon as you get the address to where you're going, make sure you, post that on Facebook or something. Get that to your friends, get that to your family too, because care packages are really freaking huge over there. Getting care packages, I mean, it's like Christmas, man. Once you get in that daily grind of being deployed, you start to, that your routine, that it don't change, man. Your routine don't change for a whole year. It's like being in prison. These care packages are changes to that routine. I mean, they were really positive for me, and I ended up, looking forward to care packages a lot. I gave my address out to all my friends, my whole family, and I mean, they took real good care of me. And there's guys that didn't get, any packages on deployment, man. And you can see that definitely affected them. But give that address to everybody, and hopefully, you get some good people to take care of you, because care packages are huge. That'll get you through a deployment real quick. And they, people can get you stuff that you can't get in country too. So those are huge for me. Let's see, what else can we talk about? So make sure you stay in pretty good contact with your friends and family back home too. We were fortunate enough where we were. They took pretty good care of us with Wi-Fi. I was basically able to get on Wi-Fi any time I was off, as long as there wasn't an issue with the connection or something. I was able to get on Wi-Fi and make the Facebook phone calls and stuff. back home and talk to, everyone back home. But that's going to be really huge, just staying in contact. You don't want to have to go through a deployment, just by yourself and feel like you're alone over there, because that will wear you down as well. Don't be afraid to, call people that you haven't talked to in a while and just have, these long conversations with them. Hearing about home is going to be another really big thing that'll get you through a deployment. Just talking to your friends and talking to your family and just hearing how things are. And they're going to learn to hear about your stories and your experiences too. So that's huge. Don't be that guy who just tries to hold it all in and I don't need anybody. I can do this by myself. Talk to the people around you, but also stay in contact with your loved ones back home. That's going to be really big, really, really big. And just one more thing before I'll finish out this part 1 video, and then we'll pick up with part 2. But one more thing that was really big for me is to stay busy while you're overseas. Now, you can, obviously you're going to be really busy doing your job, but I mean, outside of your job where you get a little bit of free time, stay busy and find like a good positive outlet to, kind of relieve stress. For me, I ended up working out I was going crazy in the gym, and I still do. And I did that before the deployment too, but I just ended up going like just beast mode in the gym. I would get up extra early, hit the gym before anybody was in there. Then I'd go to work all day. At the end of the shift, go hit the gym again. And that was just kind of my thing, just going crazy in the gym. I put my music on, and that was just my outlet. And that really helped me out a lot. But find that outlet for you. It could be anything, whether, you like working out, you like going running. I mean, the video games, you like watching, movies, get you a little movie set up or something. Find that outlet, because that's going to be huge for your mind too, to just kind of get out of the monotonous schedule that goes on while you're deployed. Like I said, it's like being in prison. Another huge thing, set goals while you're over there. I know this is going to sound cheesy, but just trust me, like set goals, whether it be weekly goals, monthly goals for when you get back home. And for me, I set really huge goals for when I got home. I basically was doing research. Like I said, I had sold my car, I sold all my bikes and stuff. I knew I wanted to replace all those things, but I didn't know what I wanted to get. So a lot of my time was spent just doing an absolutely absurd amount of research on cars and motorcycles to figure out exactly what I wanted. And throughout that planning, it gave me another thing to do to keep myself occupied, keep my mind occupied and away from just that daily grind of doing my military job. And it really gave me something that was really positive, something to look forward to, and something to just keep my, just to keep me occupied. So for me, I planned on getting, new cars, new bikes, and did the research. But for you, I mean, once again, it could be anything. Plan out, if you're going to college or something, then plan out your future. Plan out, what classes you want to take, or plan out what major you want to get. It could be anything like, I want to do renovations to my house, or, I want to pick up a new skill. I mean, all these things are positive things that, positive goals that you can set, because that'll definitely help you out in the long run. But yeah, this video is getting long. I'll go ahead and close this one out right here, and we'll pick up with part 2 here shortly.